Ah, there we go. That's a new one.
Okay, and welcome to the fifth and final tabletop storytelling game for October for inspired content. This one is Beowulf the movie board game. Theoretically, there's some storytelling in there. We'll find out, I guess. That was one of the implications I saw from this, so we'll take a look at that and I'll do some quick explanation of how the game plays, and then I will quickly review and then come up with ideas and inspirations for taking the game further or similar style games. So I'll see you on the other side of that.
These are the components that every player should be able to have access to during the course of the game. Right. Okay, these are the game components. We have figures. Each character should get 4 long ships, 3 castle mounts, 2 spearmen, and 1 hero. And then you have here, the currency is a form of marker, a point marker. They're called saga point counters. Saga. These counters are used to track the number of saga points each player scores from act to act. Alright, and then these are act-sorted events. They're the boon and event tiles. They're boon tiles, special tiles, and peril tiles. And each one of them is part of an act. This is Act 1, this is, you can see the markers here. Act 2 is yellow back. So if you see a player with more Act 2 tiles in their hand during an Act 3 event, you know vaguely what's on their tiles. This is an Act 3, and this is an Act 1. And each tile has a certain point value. And these are cheat sheets that tell you basically special abilities of certain tiles and how they'll affect outcomes. This is the board. This is Act 1, Act 2, and then Act 3 is a double board. And basically, gameplay is a player character can place one of their characters, and you'll notice that on the front of this one, this is the hero, Beowulf. You might be able to see it. Maybe not. But there are 4 diamonds on the front of it, and those 4 diamonds are a multiplier for the point values they get. So you may play your character on the board, and that's the end of a turn. And then the Thane, the player spearman, has 3, so his multiplier is less than Beowulf's. If you place him on the board, and then the Castle Heorot, has 2 diamonds. So it's a multiplier of 2 only. And then the long ship only has a multiplier of 1. And you can place, each turn you have the option of placing a figure, or everybody starts the hand with 2 tiles. And so your tiles in your hand are thus. And you can place, you pick a tile and you can play a tile. So you either put a figure on the board, or you pick a tile and play a tile. So I would do something like that, because that's most advantageous to the 2 players already on the board, 2 characters. And that's the end of a turn. And you do this until all players have played and all squares on the board are filled with something. Now some of these tiles have the option of allowing you to remove tiles from the board. So with a Valor, you may optionally remove a temptation card if there's a temptation card on the board. And items that you'll find in the playable tiles look like characters and scenes from the movie. This is a gorge that would, if played here, blocks this row from this character, because it divides the board on that row. This is a mead tile. It's a +2 right now, but has the potential to be converted into a drunkenness tile. Do we have one? Do we have one? No. Okay, Dragonhorn, mead, character, -1, that's a death it looks like. -4. There's mead. That's a drunkenness tile, so if that's played, that converts the It can either be played as a regular peril tile or can be replace a mead tile. So I can take this and replace this. So it allows me to play a tile and remove a tile. It's the only time you really get the chance to remove tiles. You have good counsel, moves a figure, already on board to an adjacent but not diagonal empty space, and place this tile. So you would put a good counsel tile in its place, but good counsel tiles don't seem to have a point value. Alright, so there does not appear to be a treachery, or a temptation or valor tile, or a golden statue tile for the first round. So what you get is, this is good counsel, move a figure to a different row or column, and in the empty space, place this tile where the figure moved from. And this is a treasure tile. Can be played as a regular boon, which means I would put it in line with the character or whatnot to increase the point value, but that's just a +1. Or discarded to the box for immediate saga points. So it looks like that would be 3 saga points. So a +1 multiplied by Beowulf's points would be 4. So this might be worth more as a boon, but if it's in line, if your only place to place it is in line with the ship, a 1 times a 1, it would make more sense to exchange this for saga points. So that's that. And then this one is the dragon horn, or the royal dragon horn. Add 1 diamond to each figure in its row and column. So if I did that, that would line up with Beowulf and make him a 5. So 5 times 9, or the Thane, the spearsman, that's also a bonus to him, so he would get as much as Beowulf without modifier, so 4. So 4 times 9. That's a very, very valuable tile to find. Alright. That's that for that round. And you might finish up the round with still 1 or 2 of those tiles in your hand. And then the next round, you can do the place a character, but also be aware that there are these gorge tiles already in place. Divides its row and column into 2 parts, each of which score separately. So the divide looks like it runs through here, and here, and probably here. So the largest chunk of play would be this area here, it looks like. That's a tough board to play. But so you can place a character, draw a tile, and play a tile. And much the same as the previous one. Gameplay is like that. At the end of a round, you get your point values from your board. You use these as markers for how many points you had. So let's have a look-see at if there's any of the new ones on here. This is a Valor, which, after placing this tile, you may optionally remove a temptation tile from the board and discard it into the box. Show you what a temptation card looks like. That's a temptation card right there. So, if that's on the board, putting a Valor down, lets you optionally remove it. Ah, there we go. That's a new one. And that one is Treachery. Cancels the value of positive tiles in its row and column, but does not affect negative tiles. So, looking at this implies that with that placed there, this is not affected. You still get -2. But you don't get the +2, you don't get the 4, you don't get the 1, but you get the -3. And that's on top of the fact that this is a -6. It's sort of a devastating tile. Alrighty, and the final round is again, it's place a figure or pick a tile. And at this point we've seen all of the tiles. Actually, I think, yeah, hang on. Round 2 also had a golden statue, which is Yeah, that's a round 2. Golden statue. And that says, place this tile, then swap the position of 2 tiles that have already been placed on the board. Figures may not be moved. So that's basically a way of getting rid of a tile that's in your column that would detract from the point value you had built up, and swap it with one that it might affect your enemy more than you, or your opponent more than you, and eliminate its destructive potential against your point totals. And that's really all the tiles. This round is just a larger format for doing it. The thing about this playboard is you have columns and rows, and the point values for a column that's short this way. So if you have right there, short that way but long that way. But you can't do a down the center of the board like that, because it's diagonal. But it's important to note that apparently, once the row and column are summed, you multiply the sum by the number of diamonds on the figure's base, plus any bonus valuations, like I showed earlier where the Beowulf character was in a column with a card that adds 1 to his diamond number, so that you multiply it 5 instead of 4. And once you've tallied those up, take that many saga point counters from the central pile, and then remove the figure from the game board and turn to the next act. But it's important to note that long ships return to the player's pile when scored. They are available for you to be used again in future acts. Castles, Thanes, Spearmen, and Beowulf, on the other hand, are removed from the game when scored, so return them to the box. So it sounds like you only get to use them during one of the acts.
Alright, Beowulf the movie game. We've been lied to. This, for a game that says in each of 3 acts players strive to craft the most gripping story possible, this has no story. It's not gripping. It is a math game. You're trying to do point totals by strategically placing tiles and strategically placing figures, and then adding and multiplying point values and subtracting hazard values, and it's math. You're trying to reach a certain total bigger than the other players on the board, and there's no story element to it, which is really unfortunate because I think there's potential for it. So I'd give this game about a 4.3 out of a 4.9. But saying that, I think there were ways that maybe they could have put a story element in there. And so if I were to make other games similar to this, these are some of the ideas I would do. Have story bits on each tile. It's not just a picture with a number value on it and trying to get the number values to be higher than your opponent's play. But have actual story elements that are incorporated into the legend of the hero. So this happens, you have to tell the legend of your hero, including that piece and the way you resolved that piece. Play the tiles against each other. Instead of draw a tile, lay a tile, and then try to get your characters lined up in a way where you're lined up with the point values that max out to the certain point. Instead, play them against the other player, not on the board, but just play them against the other player, and the other player has a kind of a task to come up with a story method of overcoming the challenge, and if they fail, it's a loss of value points for them. You only get the value of the tile because the tile is both a plus and a minus, and depending on if you find a way to incorporate it into your story, you either lose or gain points on your path, rather than whatever we call that. I think it's more effective in my mind to have each player only play one hero, and you have to find other heroes to team up with to help you get through to each section of the story. They do the find each other. Then second is find the monster and have the setback, and then the third part is achieve resolution to the story together. That would be a storytelling game, at least. One of the things you get a lot of is like the legendary hero or the prophesied hero, and I'd like to see something like a story of a tragic prophecy, that the goal of the game is to play it in a way to overcome or change the way things will go for your character so that it doesn't happen that way. To beat the prophecy, to beat the curse. A game where a lore keeper presents a hero and the other players have to tell a 3-part story with cards from their own hand about the hero's legend. Cooperative play against a Minesweep-like level where some of them are just, mead, dinner with the king, that kind of stuff, and then some of them are, mines, landmines, something horrible happens. And it tells the events of a story that's forming as you turn them over. So they're not just like, oh, monster, it's, you were sleeping in your bed at night when something comes barging in the door, and then you have to kind of resolve that with your own cards or tiles of some kind before the next part of the story. Once you clear a level, you move on to the next section of the story, and it's hunting down the monster's mother. I mean, that the storytelling aspect of it, where unpredictable events, unplanned for events happen at random spots as you clear a level, and then you have to tell the story of how those are resolved as a group, and it's cooperative play to beat the level. Alrighty, so those are the ideas for this game variant that I would probably do. Hopefully there's some inspiration in there for you. I might dabble at refining one of them a little bit more. And hope to see you for next week, which should be products and services. Alright, take care.